My friend is dying, Karen. I just came across this sub and it seems like the perfect place to rant about an incident that still makes my blood boil to this day. Back in high school, my friend group included this guy who had a terminal illness. He was at the point where his doctors were shocked he was still alive. Aside from being skinny and a bit pale, he looked like any other average teenager. He had his good days and his bad days, but even on his good days, he would tire easily. He didn't talk much about his illness, and he tried to be normal like everyone else. For example, he would talk about the college he wanted to attend, and what career he wanted. We respected that, and never brought up his illness. He had a placard, so we would always park in handicapped spots. As you can imagine, we often got dirty looks when a bunch of seemingly healthy teenagers piled out of the car. Our friend ignored the looks, so we never said anything to these judgmental people. One weekend, we all decided to go to the amusement park. After an hour or so, he started getting tired, so we got him one of those loaner wheelchairs. Like the teenagers we were, we took turns doing stuff like pushing him really fast and doing wheelies, but we were careful not to bother anyone else. I remember him laughing his butt off. That is, until a Karen shouted at us from like 30 feet away. "You know you're keeping that wheelchair from someone who might actually need it, don't you?" I looked at my friend and his smile instantly disappeared. I was done. Effing done. So I marched over to her knowing exactly what I was going to say after biting my tongue so many times. I didn't raise my voice so my friend wouldn't overhear what I said. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm sure you'll be happy to know my friend has a terminal illness and his doctors say he could die any moment now. So someone else will be able to use the wheelchair very soon." She got all red in the face and said, "Well, how was I supposed to know that?" I replied, "You weren't, because it's none of your effing business. So, thank you for reminding my friend he's dying when he was having so much fun." I turned around and walked back to my friends. He made it another 2 years after that. Jay, I still miss you, bro. You know what? After reading this story, I'm actually going to have to sort of check myself a little bit as well. Because, I don't know. And be honest with me in the comments down below, guys, as well, right? Genuinely be honest. Surely, at some point in your life, you have seen teenagers messing about on a wheelchair and thought to yourself, oh, what are they doing? Like, they're taking a wheelchair away from someone who might need one. They're taking their mick. They're having fun. Yeah, but it's a wheelchair. It's for disabled people, etc. Like, I'm happy to admit, I hold my hands up, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, that I have done that before. I'm not sure that necessarily is a bad thing to have done, because I am 100% sure that I have seen teenagers that are all abled doing this in the past with loaner wheelchairs, ones that you can borrow and you know, take if you need, if you have a disability. So I don't like 100%. I can't 100% look at this woman and say, "Oh my God, how could you do something like that?" I would be lying if I did say that. Now that's on me. I'm happy to admit that that's wrong of me, and I would never do that again after reading something like this. And now that I'm obviously a little bit older and wiser, I know that a lot of disabilities, in fact, you could argue the vast majority, are not physical disabilities. So yeah, I'm probably going to get slated in the comments down below, but just be honest with me. Have you done the same thing? Come on, admit that you have. Some of you I know are angels watching this right now, but just don't abuse me too much. See where I'm coming from in the way that I kind of see where the Karen's coming from. I don't know. I still wouldn't shout at someone from 30 feet away though. That's the thing. Like, it's one thing thinking that in my mind, thinking, oh, these kids, like, what are they doing? They shouldn't be using the wheelchair like this. But I would never actually say, you know, you're keeping that wheelchair from someone who might actually need it, don't you? That is another level. That is what makes this Karen a Karen. I just can't lie to you and say I haven't thought those things before. My tattoo is in poor taste. Thanks for hating on my dead parents' memory. I am a 24-year-old man, and I used to work at a hotel, mostly doing overnights. Almost a year ago, we lost my stepdad, and we lost my grandma 2 months after. My family wasn't and still aren't in the best shape. My mum, about a month after we lost my bonus dad, went to get a tattoo as a small memorial. I went with her, and since the artist was a friend of hers and had no more appointments, he took me as a walk-in to get something as well, my first tattoo. A few days after, I was at work one night and an elderly couple walked in. They were really nice until I went to hand them their room keys and my sleeve hitched up enough that the woman saw my tattoo peeking out. She scoffed and pointed at it, saying, "You really shouldn't have that in such a visible place. It's really in poor taste that kids these days keep damaging their bodies just because they think it's cool. That's actually pretty trashy." Her husband looked over it, as though he was used to hearing her run her mouth. But I was at breaking point. It had just been a month since losing my bonus dad at that point, and my grandma wasn't looking too good either. So I put on the biggest smile I could, my eyes already slightly misty with tears, which freaked them out further, and told her, "I'm sorry you think that, Mum. However, you should know I got this just the other day because I lost my father last month to cancer, and it's not been easy." The woman looked mortified, and her face went bright red in embarrassment, and the husband started to apologize. He grabbed their keys and started pushing her towards the elevator, quietly telling her, "This is why we keep our opinions to ourselves." For context, it isn't even a big tattoo or any image. It's just a little line on my wrist that says JK Livin' because that was my bonus dad's motto. Even when he faced challenges and obstacles, he would just keep living, and I intend to do the same. I hope my tears made her feel lower than poop. Oh my goodness, and here I was thinking that and by the way, this wouldn't make this right, but here I was thinking that OP might have got, some sort of image or something that was, outside of the t-shirt line or something like that. I mean, again, it doesn't make it right, but you do get some elderly people or just idiots that do comment on those sort of things. But just JK Living, a small piece of text, why would you ever comment on that anyway? That's so weird. I mean, let alone the fact that you should never comment on someone else's tattoos or say, "Oh, you should really cover that up," etc., etc. It doesn't matter what the point of the tattoo is, of course, but when it's like that simple and that normal and inoffensive, it's just a bit weird. It's not as if OP has got like a forehead tattoo, remembering his stepdad. That's probably in poor taste from me, to be honest there, but let's just go with it. It's so nonchalant and just honestly forgettable. Like, you just wouldn't even ever notice it and think about it. But yeah, great revenge, I suppose. You want to keep recording me? Fine. Learn why I can't be on social media. I am a 17-year-old woman, and I'm not allowed to be on social media whatsoever. I can't have videos of me up, photos of me, and if it's a group photo, my mum and I must know if it's a private group or not. To put it simply, my dad is a sociopathic child toucher and R-word, cheater, sexual and mental abuser. Fun. Wow. Anyways, my family has been able to get him into prison for 25 years, and hopefully he dies there. We have a restraining order on him for my immediate family and extended family, and we're going to get it renewed as soon as I turn 18. Even though we have this restraining order, he still contacts us through people outside of the prison, through emails, social media, and physical letters. Because of this, I'm obviously not going to willingly put my face out there. Of course though, idiots love to push your boundaries. At my high school, there's this boy named Ethan who loves to film TikToks. He claims he's TikTok famous and that anyone in his videos will automatically be famous too. Well, one day he was recording something with his friends and going around and asking people questions. I tried to dodge him, but I guess that just made me more of a target. Ethan came barreling up to me, got all in my face, and started spewing weird, random questions. When he noticed I wasn't answering, he stopped the video and asked why. I simply said, "I don't like being filmed," but not taking no for an answer, he kept pushing. I then said, "I'm not allowed to be on social media." He had the audacity to ask, "Why? Is it because you think you're ugly or something?" That annoyed me no end, and in a fit of rage, I decided to let my whole traumatic backstory be known to the world. "Well, Ethan, I'm actually not allowed to be on social media because my father is a sociopathic freak who has a 25-year prison sentence for molesting and R-ing his own family, children included. Because of him, my family had to go into hiding for months until the court ruled in our favour, and even then we weren't safe. When my grandma accidentally posted, 'My family has COVID,' my dad got his buddies to contact us and plead with us to talk to him. He's oh so worried about the family he ruined, and because of that, I had to go through 8 years of counselling, 1 year off, and now I'm back in it." Man, the look on his face was priceless. Ethan was so unbelievably flabbergasted. His eyes were wide open as his jaw dropped in utter horror. Not knowing what to say, he looked to his friends for help. but they were also completely shocked. After about 3 more seconds of pure shock and horror on his side, and a completely dead-faced look on mine, he meekly whispered, "I'm sorry," and walked away with his tail between his legs. That is what you get for prying into other people's business and not taking no for an answer, you jerk. Okay, now this one is just terribly serious and very, very sad, really. But again, good revenge. It's just very sad that you've had to deal with this throughout your entire life, OP. We all know someone like this as well, and this actually makes me really, really grateful and happy for the fact that I'm not in school anymore, where people are trying to be TikTok famous and are just randomly interviewing kids and calling them ugly just to try and get some clips or whatever. I can't imagine how annoying that would be. And I'm very, very thankful that I graduated and finished my education before TikTok and the internet really was a thing. I mean, I tried to make YouTube videos at school. They didn't do that well. Some people found out, etc. But that was it. It wasn't like people in the playground going, "Oh my God, what are the 5 things you hate about school, mate?" Which is what they would have sounded like. And then, yeah, just that going online. Awful. But yeah, good for you. Good for you. Hopefully, people like this at your school don't mess with you again. I hope you have a seizure and die. Okay, but you can watch. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with absence epilepsy. This wasn't a particularly serious type of epilepsy. My seizures would usually last around 30 seconds, and I wasn't shaking or falling unconscious. I'd just stare ahead blankly and make repetitive movements, like clicking my tongue or continue simple tasks that I was already doing before the seizure. After the seizure finished, I'd be completely fine. Because of this, most people weren't really concerned when they saw me have one, if they even realized I was having a seizure, because it just looked like I was daydreaming. My brother wasn't the kindest person growing up. Whenever we had an argument, he would say, "I hope you have a seizure and die." I don't know why he'd say that, but he did have a lot of unresolved personal issues at the time, so maybe that has something to do with it. I think that given the nature of my seizures, he never really considered that my seizures could actually be dangerous, even if the danger was indirect, such as walking into a busy road. Fast forward around 5 years, I developed tonic-clonic epilepsy, which is the most well-known epilepsy, where you go unconscious and do a funny dance on the floor. Unlike my absent seizures, TC seizures hit me hard. I don't feel them coming, so I can just drop to the floor. My body expels most of my oxygen at the start of the seizure, meaning I can't breathe during it, and after the seizure I'm exhausted and confused. One day, as I was cleaning my teeth, I had a TC seizure. This next part was told to me by my mother, since I wasn't exactly aware of what was going on, and my memory of the events afterwards is unreliable. My mother heard a loud thud from the bathroom, which was my body dropping. She came into the bathroom to see me having a seizure while lying half into the bath. She called for my brother to basically pick up my shaking body and lie me down in the bath properly so I wouldn't injure myself during the seizure. Since I could barely breathe and at this point in time didn't have any emergency medication for it, she had my brother tilt me on my side and hold me in that position to try and help me breathe. He was the best one to do this since he was a lot stronger than my mother. After 5 minutes had passed, which is considered medical emergency for seizures, she had to call an ambulance because I was still seizing and not able to breathe. While on the phone, my seizure finished, so the ambulance didn't end up coming. My seizure lasted for around 6 minutes. I wasn't able to get up and walk by myself, so my brother and mother had to half carry me to my bed where I passed out. At some point during the day, I can't remember whether it was before or after I passed out, I saw my brother being hugged by my mother as he was crying. He'd stopped saying, "I hope you have a seizure and die," a couple of years before I developed TC epilepsy. So the accidental revenge did come pretty late, but I like to think that seeing me in that bathtub, shaking, blue in the face, and grunting and snoring in attempts to get oxygen for 6 minutes reminded him of that phrase he said, and made him regret ever saying it. Wow, I mean, every story here just got more and more serious, to be honest. 6 minutes, I think, is long enough to cause, well, it must be long enough to cause, like, serious brain damage. Can't it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure it's something like, yeah, that's the reason why after 5 minutes you have to get attention as quickly as you can from a medical professional. I think, isn't it after like 3 minutes or something you need to get medical attention? I don't know. Comment in the comments down below if you know your stuff. I clearly don't. However, I can talk about the revenge itself. Yeah, it's it's weird because it's not. I don't really know if it's something that you'd want to get revenge for that long afterwards. But you can garner from what OP is saying that she really did not like and hated, very fairly, obviously, the fact that her brother didn't understand the extent of her illness for such a long time and said something so vulgar to her. Which, let's be honest, and this is why I'm not 100% sure that the revenge is that great. He didn't mean it, did he? Like, it's just something that a stupid kid would say when you're trying to get at your sibling. No one would ever want to see that. Perhaps, yeah, there is some sort of sense behind wanting your brother to actually see how this has affected you, and I do get that, but I don't know. It seems like he's kind of grown up by this point, and he hasn't been doing it in a long time. It's tough to know because we don't know the ages of these two individuals. But again, I think you hopefully kind of see where I'm coming from. Nobody actually wants to see their siblings seriously harmed, despite, saying it in an offhand way for years. Although, I do agree with OP. It was probably extremely annoying, and sometimes it is good for someone to get a taste of their own medicine. You wanna see me die from a seizure? Okay, let's go. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. I reckon I've said some controversial things in this episode. Let's see what you think. Comments down below as always. I'll always be in there checking your comments. And I'm a little bit worried about this one, but we'll see what you have to say.